Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about how to overcome founder burnout. Let's get going. Okay, so founder burnout. I have personal experience with this. Founder burnout is when you are working so much for so long that you hit a breaking point. And as an entrepreneur or a CEO of a tech company or any kind of company that has employees and customers and investors, this is a real risk and it's a real temptation. It's a temptation as the founder and the CEO to just push harder and to keep going no matter what and to be persistent as F and just to get it done. And I know that's the mindset that so many entrepreneurs are in, and that can be a really productive mindset to be in. But the problem with that mindset is you can't actually work as hard as you possibly can for an indeterminate amount of time, for years on end, without getting to a breaking point of your physical body. Like I know when I was running Kindara, I had this kind of sick curiosity to figure out and understand, like, how hard can I actually push myself? Like, can I keep going? Can I keep going? Can I keep getting up at 6 in the morning and getting into the office and working for 10 or 11 or 12 hours, like 6 or 7 days a week? Like, what can I actually physically do? And I was curious, like, what's gonna happen? And unfortunately, I found the answer, and the answer is I can keep going until I can't go any longer. Until my body was literally shutting down. I would come home at the end of the day and lie face down on the floor in our living room, and Katie would look at me and say, like, you can't keep doing this. You need to switch something up, or you're going to have health problems that are going to be irreversible, like your hormone system is gonna break and it's never gonna come back, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been there. We ended up hiring an outside CEO, and if I could do it over, I would have done it differently. And now with some perspective on the business, I see how I burned myself out, why I burned myself out, and what I could have done to avoid founder burnout. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. So we hear it said that startup is a marathon, not a sprint. And people say that because you got to remember that it's an endurance event. You can't sprint and get to the end of it because it's just too long. Like, startups last years and years. They don't last months or quarters. So I actually don't like that saying, because a marathon you can only run for 4 hours. Like, you can run a marathon, maybe you can run an endurance race for 24 hours, but you can't go indefinitely. It's not a sustainable thing to be running a marathon. So I like to say a startup is a brisk walk. And the reason I like that is because you can go at a brisk pace walking pretty much forever. Like, you could walk all day, and the next day, get some sleep, get up and walk the next day, get some sleep, walk the next day. Like, you can do that for a very long time. You can just keep walking. So I like to say a startup is a brisk walk. If you are sprinting or running, in my opinion, you're doing something wrong. Like, there's ways to do it smarter so that you don't have to be running, that you can be walking briskly. The one saying that I love, that I say over and over again, is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. If you are pushing hard on everything to try and get everything done right now, the system gets jammed up. And when I'm talking about the system, it's not only the external system, but also like your mental system gets jammed up. So slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So if you want to go fast, have a system where you can be moving steadily, incrementally every day, making the business better in an environment and a context that feeds you, that you can actually keep going. So that's the context for how to get out of this founder burnout scenario. And what I'm going to give 3 concrete tools or steps to avoid founder burnout. So the first one is to realize that founder burnout starts here first. It starts with your mental attitude, RMA, right mental attitude. So the reason that I burned myself out and that I got into this state of overworking and just physical degradation was because my mental attitude was, I need to work harder or this business is going to fail. And I think so many founders are in that exact same mental attitude. I need to push harder or the business is going to fail. And so the thing to notice about that is it's a fear-based mentality. And if you're in that state, like if you can sit for a minute in quiet and ask yourself, how often am I in that state of, if I don't push harder, this business is going to fail? And if you're in that state leads to burnout. So the number one thing, the first thing to overcome founder burnout is to realize that you're in a fear-based mental state and to shift it. And some of the shifts that you could make is, I don't need to work harder, but I need to work smarter, or this business is going to fail. Or I need to stop doing the things I'm not naturally gifted at, or this business is going to fail. Or I need to learn how to delegate, or this business is going to fail. So all of those are paths that diverge from the I need to work harder, or this business is going to fail. And those divergent paths have a much higher chance of success. Because the truth is, as an entrepreneur and as a visionary, you can't do everything, and you shouldn't do everything, because you're not good at everything. Like, each of us, I believe, has some God-given genius qualities, things that we are just naturally good at and that we love doing, and things that we are naturally bad at and we hate doing. Like, for me, I really like product. I like coming up with product visions and new product directions and sketching out a product roadmap, but I'm not good at detail work, at managing the details of a team, of keeping people accountable. That's just stuff that I'm not good at. And one of the reasons I burned myself out at Kindara is because I was doing all kinds of stuff that I wasn't good at, and that was actually causing more problems in the business than helping the business move forward. So that's number one. Check your right mental attitude. Check your mental attitude, and if you are in a fear-based place, come up with a few different avenues for how you can work less but work smarter and have even more success with the business. Like, the fact is, working hard is a bad strategy. Working harder and harder to try and make the business better is a bad long-term strategy. Like, it might work in short sprints, but as a long-term strategy for the business, to grow the business, you can't have the bottleneck be working harder. So that's the number one thing. And the way that looks in practice is to identify what you're good at and delegate the rest. Find a way to delegate stuff that you're not good at and you don't like doing in order to free up space for you to do stuff that actually nourishes you and feeds you. So that's number one. Number two thing to do to avoid burnout is to do less. Look at everything that you're doing and pick the 1 to 2 to 3 things that are most important and decide to not do all the rest of the stuff. I talk with so many entrepreneurs who are working on the product and trying to get users, and also doing a meeting with this guy who called and said they might want to do business development, and also meeting with somebody about doing a TEDx talk and talking to a PR agency. Like, pick the 2 things that you need to do to make the business get to the next stage and stop doing all the rest. So many visionary type entrepreneurs want to do everything. Like, we have this idea that we can fit 100 pounds of stuff into a 50-pound bag, or that we can somehow just, get way more done than we can actually get done. So number 2 way to avoid burnout is to do less. This is painful for me. I know it's painful for visionary people to do less, to say, I'm not going to do that. Even though I can see how beautiful and fun and amazing that could be, I'm not going to do it. I'm only going to focus on this. And for visionary people, that can get really boring, and it takes discipline. But I can tell you from experience, that discipline is what's going to get you long-term sustainable success. So number 2, do less. Number 3 is self-care and rejuvenation. So it's really important as an entrepreneur, you're on this brisk walk, using our metaphor. It's really important that you're drinking water, that you're eating the right type of food, that maybe you're taking some time for yourself to be alone if that's what you need. It's vitally important to figure out what your self-care routine is and to do it religiously. And I say do it first thing in the morning. So when I get up in the morning, I exercise, I do a bit of reading, I exercise, I meditate, I go over my goals. Like, every morning, even if I can only do them each for a minute each, I'll do them. And that sets me up to feel like I have a foundation of self-care and that I can go about my day. I also try to take 1 day off a week. So I don't do any work. Dan Sullivan, strategic coach, calls this a free day. And that's really important to get my mind off work and everything that I'm working on, all the projects I'm working on, to allow my body to just rejuvenate itself and my spirit to rejuvenate itself. So number 3 is find out what you need spiritually as a human being to feel good and to be on this brisk walk that is entrepreneurship for years. And make sure you're doing that on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. I try to take a day in nature at least once a month, on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis. Every couple of years, maybe you need a big trip. So think of every time scale and figure out what do you need to do to rejuvenate and repair your spirit, your consciousness, in order to be in the practice of entrepreneurship for years on end. So those are my top 3 things to do to avoid burnout. Just to review them, 1 is make sure you have the right mental attitude. and find ways to delegate instead of trying to do more. Find ways to work smarter instead of working harder. Number 2 is do less, slow down. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Do less. And number 3 is make sure you're taking time to rejuvenate yourself and repair your spirit so that you can keep going for the long term. And with those 3 things, that's how I overcame founder burnout. That's how you can overcome founder burnout. If you want to talk about founder burnout, I work with people about this one-on-one, and we can I'll do a free consultation, see if it might make sense to work together, and then we can put together a plan to systematize your business, to help you delegate, to help you find out your genius qualities, to help you change your mental attitude, to help you put in place good self-care so that you don't burn out and you can be the leader of your company in a way that feeds and nourishes you for the long term and have the company grow into the beautiful thing that you know it can be. So hope that's helpful for today, guys. And if you have any comments or questions or ideas for future videos, please leave a comment below and let me know what you'd like me to address. And head over to socialimpactceo.com for free startup resources and courses that'll help you build a company that matters. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Bye.